Let's start things off with a mysterious story from Charles County, Maryland, where a man was found dead in his home in Pomfret, which investigators say contained 124 venomous and non-venomous snakes.
We're told deputies responded to the home after receiving a tip from a neighbor that man was unconscious. The deputies found the man dead, surrounded by snakes, including a 14-foot Burmese python.
Now let me start by saying there is nothing funny about this man's death at all. He was a member of our community, and that is nothing to joke about. The snakes, on the other hand, I have questions. Why would anybody need or want to own that many snakes? Like, once you get past 5 or 6 of any animal, now you living in their home. You are no longer the head of household. The balance of power has shifted. Cold-blooded. Authorities claim there's no evidence that any of the snakes got loose. So, by the way, there's no need for neighbors to move out in terror. But just so you know, keeping venomous snakes as pets is illegal in Maryland. Please don't get any ideas from this. First, we had Mo Exotic and his zebras in Prince George's County. Now we got this residential snake pit in Charles County. What's next? A hippo farm in Anne Arundel? Hey, don't y'all get any ideas. Y'all are doing way too much with your free time already. Now I chose this next story out of Crystal City, Virginia, because it's a wild one. The Arlington County Board is set to renew use permits for Bolero, a bowling alley that has dozens of complaints to its name. People who live in the apartment building above it call police for fights, drunk and loud patrons, indecent exposure, and damaged property. They hit for the cycle. Makes you think they really should be producing more World Star content. Come on, Bolero, where's this content? What is going on in Crystal City? That bowling alley sounds like the bar from Roadhouse. Clearly, they need to bring in Patrick Swayze's ghost to come in and deliver some roundhouse kicks just to settle things down a bit. And leave it to Northern Virginia to find a way to make bowling exciting. They combine the thrill of friendly competition with a side order of MMA and just a dash of cops sprinkled in for good measure. The list of things people called the police about at Bolero in 2021 is extensive, so I'll highlight some of the greatest hits. January 19th, intoxicated patrons sitting outside crying. Or April 6th, female outside exposed herself. How about May 4th? Former employees spit in somebody's face. How about we move down to November 28th? Intoxicated female needed a ride home. This was around Thanksgiving. Let's hope this bowling alley and their patrons can find some chill in 2022, because all chill was non-existent last year. Hey, I'm rooting for you, Bolero, or as our writer Leon Scott called you, Boleros. Shout out to him for blackening that up. Now we're headed to Denver, Colorado for the next story, because you know Reese loves the animals, unless it's like hundreds of snakes. Workers at a Denver Arc thrift store were surprised to find a family's missing pet cat lounging inside of a donated recliner. The cat, nicknamed Montequila, seemed unbothered, which is absolutely on brand as far as cat behavior is concerned. But, I mean, look at does it look like Montequila wanted to be found? Just look at the look on its face when it was returned to us. Does it look happy to you? It looked happier in that couch. Now, this is not a happy expression. That is the face of a hostage. This cat is thinking, I almost made it to freedom. I was that close. Now, Montequila actually looks so defeated right now, probably thanks to that name, because that's way too many syllables. Then again, this is a house cat with loving owners who actually wanted it back. How hard can its life really be? Go ahead, walk it off, Montequila. And lastly, I chose this story out of Miami because it might be the greatest example of big dad energy ever. An American Airlines flight from Miami to London turned around and headed back to the U.S. after an unruly passenger refused to wear a face mask during the flight. That pilot was like, I turned this whole plane around, and I mean it. One more time, I'm turning this plane around. She is lucky there were no trees up there in the air, or else the pilot might have followed with go get a switch. This story triggers memories for everybody whose childhood was in the era before timeouts. Now, my mom turned a car around one time on a trip to Pizza Hut, and I never called her bluff again. Now, I'm a new dad, so I know that one day I'm going to have to issue the "I'll turn this car around" threat to my child. By the way, she can't watch the show. She's too young to understand English. I don't really actually want to turn it around. How do y'all do this, parents? I hope to have the strength and resolve to follow through with it like this pilot and crew, because I know the other 128 passengers on that flight were ready to curse that lady out for delaying their travel plans because she wouldn't cover her nose and mouth like everybody else. They lost a whole chunk of their vacation over her nonsense. I'm sure they were willing to cover her nose and mouth for her. My favorite story, you guys know I like Bolero for the sheer ratchetness. But I love the pilot that turned the whole plane around. I aspire to someday reach that level of petty when making a point.